Albert Johnson was arrested in March 1885. He was sentenced to 18 months in prison for grand larceny. Unfortunately for Johnson, his hair and luxurious mustache were later shaved off by officials due to a lice scare. Unidentified offender. I feel like an archaeologist trying to find and preserve these records of the common man, most of which are treated like trash and destroyed, mugshot collector Mark Michelson said. Bertha Liebeck, most notorious pickpockets. She sought out well-dressed men, ideally with a diamond-studded lapel pin, stumble into them and pretend to faint and fall into their arms. This trick earned her the nickname Fainting Bertha. Her scam came to a halt when she was arrested in May 1903. The description on the back of John Jordan's photo describes him as a whorehouse pimp and a bagman. He was booked by the St. Louis police. George Ray's 1890s mugshot is rare in that the prisoner is smiling. Not only did most arrestees have little to smile about, the length of time it took for the exposure to develop made it even less likely that a recently incarcerated person would hold a grin. John Heppy, age and reason for arrest unknown. James Whitewater was arrested and charged in 1872 for killing 2 men. After serving his sentence for more than 10 years in jail, Whitewater was one of 2 inmates pardoned by the Nebraska governor following a change of law. Tim O'Brien was photographed without any further information. The original police document of O'Brien included a cryptic note which read, "Taken out March 7, 1883. James Collins, 23, was arrested for burglary on May 12, 1897. His bandaged head was the result of his scuffle with police after he escaped custody and was rearrested. Fitzgerald, whose first name was unrecorded, was one of many known conmen in St. Louis. Charles Martin was among the 3 burglars who blew up a safe in a bank vault in Sheridan, Missouri on February 15, 1898. He was eventually captured after leading authorities on a multi-state chase. Charles Bell, date and details of arrest unknown. Charlie Jones, alias Williams, was arrested in Missouri in 1858 for picking pockets. Jim Ling was arrested for running an opium joint on June 3, 1898. Armstrong, whose first name went unrecorded, evidently told a police officer, Charles Brownfield, that he was a rebel prisoner. Brownfield, on the other hand, described Armstrong as a general thief. In 1899, Frank L. Dinsmore was arrested in Buffalo County, Nebraska, for the double murder of his wife and their boarding house landlord. Chas Jamison, 19, a prisoner in the St. Louis County Jail on an unspecified charge in 1860. Goldie Williams, alias Mag Murphy, was arrested in Nebraska for vagrancy on January 29, 1898. Joseph Johnson, arrested for embezzlement in Missouri. Date unspecified. Emmett Dalton was known as a one-time gunslinger and the youngest brother of the Dalton Gang, which robbed trains and banks in the late 1800s. Dalton was pardoned after 14 years in prison. John Fight was convicted of grand larceny in St. Louis and went on to serve 2 years in the Missouri State Penitentiary. John Ellis was accused of stealing horses in September 1866. Dave Marshall was a suspected mall buzzer, that is, a thief who pickpockets or steals women's purses. An unidentified member of the Omaha police force holds Herbert Cochran in a headlock during his mugshot in November 1899. Cochran was arrested on burglary charges. J.P. Robinson was arrested in Nebraska in 1901 for running a scam in which he'd buy his beers with Mexican dollars, which looked very similar to American dollars, even though the Mexican currency had less than half the value.